This time, let's talk about dividing decimals by decimals. How are we going to divide decimal number by a decimal number? So, same way lang po ang process in dividing whole number by a decimal. We have to follow the same steps in dividing numbers or dividing whole numbers. We have to divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and then repeat. So, for better understanding, I have your example. 26.25 divided by 1.75. So we're going to follow the same steps in dividing a number. We have to rewrite it into column, or we're going to do the long division process. So again, let's write it down. 26.25 divided by 1.75. So in dividing this kind of equation, we're going to observe our equation. Always remember that we have to get rid of decimals in our divisor. So kailangan natin na ang divisor natin ay nasa whole number. Just in case, if it is in decimal number, we have to change it into whole number before we proceed into the steps in dividing numbers. So like in dividing whole number by a decimal number, we have to change the divisor into whole number. So again, change the divisor into whole numbers or whole number by moving the decimal point to the right. So we have two decimal places in our divisor. So what we're going to do is to move the decimal point to make it whole number. How many times? 2 times. So let's move. 1, 2. So when we move it, it becomes 175. So as always, what you do in your divisor, you also have to do in your dividend. So since our decimal point is between 6 and 2, we have to move also this decimal point 2 times to the right. 1, 2. So the decimal point is in there. So to make the equation equal, kung anong ginawa mo sa divisor, same thing din yung gagawin mo sa dividend. So in that case, we can rewrite our equation into 2,625 divided by 175. So you have noticed that the decimal point in our dividend, makikita natin sa ulihan ng 5. And when you put the decimal point, you also write it on top. So lagay din natin sa taas para hindi tayo maging confused where to put our decimal point. So we are now ready to do the steps in dividing decimals or in dividing whole number. So let's start. So we have 3-digit divisor. So obviously we have to start 2-digit in our or 3-digit in our dividend. So we have 262 divided by 175. That gives us 1. Then 1 times 175, that gives us 175. Next step is to subtract them. So 262 minus 175, it gives us 87. Next process is to bring down. So 875 divided by 175, that gives us 5. 5 plus 175, that gives us 875. Then we have to subtract. The answer is 0. So we have the answer 15. So again, dividing decimals by decimals. So always in mind that in dividing decimals or decimal numbers, we're going to follow the same steps in dividing whole number. Kailangan lang natin consider ang decimal numbers. So always remember that in dividing numbers, you always observe your divisor. It should always be in whole number form. Just in case if it is in decimal form, that would be the time we're going to do something. We're going to change it into whole number. So I have here example 12.36 divided by 1.2. So same step, we're going to do the long division process this time. So we write it in column 12.36 divided by 1.2. So observe that your divisor is in decimal form. So when it is in decimal form, always remember that we have to change it into whole number. change the divisor into whole number by moving the decimal point to the right until it becomes whole number. So since we have one decimal place, we're just going to move the decimal point one time to the right. And obviously that becomes 12. So whatever you do in your divisor, you have to do also in your dividend to make them equal. So since we move one decimal place to the right in our divisor, so we also need to move one decimal place in our dividend one time. So here we go. So the dividend becomes 123.6. This time we can rewrite it as 123.6 divided by 12. So you always remember that your decimal point is between 3 and 6. Para hindi tayo ma-confuse kung kailan at saan natin ilalagay ang decimal point, just put the decimal point on top right away. Ka-align lang ng decimal point kung saan mo ilagay. So this time we're ready to divide the numbers. So we have 2 digits here. Let's also start in 2 digit sa divisor na dividend natin. 12 divided by 12, that gives us 1. And 1 times 12, that gives us 12. The next step is to subtract. 12 minus 12 is equal to 0. Next step is to bring down 3. 3 divided by 12, we cannot divide 3 by 12. Always remember that every time you bring down something in your division process, and it cannot be, hindi pwede, put answer 0. So maglalagay tayo ng 0 bago tayo mag-bring down ulit. So in this case, 3 divided by 12 cannot be, so there's nothing, so we write 0 here. So 0 times 12, that becomes 0, and the answer is 3 pa rin. So that would be the time we're going to bring down again 6. And that, at naging 36 na siya. So 36 divided by 12, possible na. So that gives us 3. Always remember that I align my answer on top of 6 kasi siya yung huling ginamit ko na digit. And I put the decimal point para hindi ako malito kung saan ko ilalagay yung decimal point ko. So that's the importance of putting the decimal point right away on top na naka-align sa decimal point ng dividend mo. So 3 times 12, that gives us also 36. The next process is to subtract. 36 minus 36, that gives us 0. So the final answer in dividing 12.36 divided by 1.2 is equal to 10.3. So one thing na dapat natin matutunan dito sa example na to, every time that we bring down, then we divide and cannot be, you always put 0 as answer bago ulit mag-bring down to make the division possible. So hope na may natutunan and we're ready for the next example. Alright, this time, let's talk about dividing decimals by a whole number. So in dividing decimals by whole number, we're going to do the same step or process in dividing numbers. So, para mas maintindihan, I have your example, 193.45 divided by 53. So, same thing lang din, we have to write this number into column, or we're going to do the long division process. So 193.45 divided by 53. Now, you have noticed that our divisor is a whole number. So in this case, hindi na natin kailangang mag-move ng decimal places just to make it a whole number kasi nga whole number na siya. So wala tayong ginawa sa divisor, so obviously wala rin tayong gagawin sa dividend natin. Kung saan nakalagay ang decimal point, let it be. But, para hindi tayo ma-confuse kung kailan at saan natin ilalagay ang decimal point sa quotient natin, ilalagay na natin siya, kukopihin na natin yung decimal point sa taas, naka-align kung saan ang decimal point sa dividend mo. So here we go. So we are now ready to divide the numbers. So we have 2 digit here, and let's start with 2 digit in our dividend. 19 divided by 53 cannot be because 19 is lesser than 53. So let's proceed with 193. 193 divided by 53 will give us 3. So 3 times 53, that is 159. Okay. So next process is to subtract. So 3 minus 9 cannot be. So borrow from 9. That becomes 8 and this becomes 13. 13 minus 9 and that gives us 4. 8 minus 5, that gives us 3. So 34 divided by 53 cannot be. So we bring down 4. 344 divided by 53 will gives us 6. So I use 4. Nag-bring down ako ng 4. So tapat ko rin yung answer ko kay 4. So 6 divided by 53 and that gives us 318. 318. So subtract. 4 minus 8 cannot be. Borrow from 4. That becomes 3. It will become 14. So 14 minus 8, that is 6. 3 minus 1, that gives us 2. 26. So we still have 5 to bring down. So bring down 5. So that becomes 256. 256 divided by 53 and that gives us 5. 5 times 53, that will gives us 265. So we're going to subtract them. So 265 minus 265, that gives us 0. So our final answer is 3.65. So in this example, we divide decimal by whole number. So wala tayong ginawa. There's no movement of decimal point to the right since whole number naman yung divisor natin. So pag wala kang ginawa sa divisor, wala ka rin gagawin sa dividend mo. Then proceed to the steps in dividing whole number. So you have the answer 3.65.